In this clip, we're going to look at the settings menu. When dealing with the settings menu, it pretty much sets up the parameter for all aspects of this application of the Promethean software. It works all the way from detailing how you want your toolbar to look, to which icon or which thing you want, which tool you want to be activated when you start the software. So it's pretty in-depth on the things it can do. To get to the settings menu, you simply go to File, and you'll see it right down there at the bottom as we hit on before, in Settings. When you click on that, this pop-up box comes in. On the previous videos, we've talked about the toolbar and how we adapt those things in the settings. We'll look at those really quick, and then we'll move over. The main thing with the settings is when you're adapting your toolbar, make sure that the one you make all the changes to is also the one you're using in your flip chart. I've had it before where I made a ton of changes to a toolbar to make it just the way I wanted it, and then when I went to use it in Promethean, all the tools were gone, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized I was using a different toolbar than the one I made all the changes in. So if you're going to update your math toolbar with all the math tools that you think you need and things like that, make sure that when you go back to your Promethean flip chart that you have the math toolbar activated, not like at the board or some other one activated. So just make sure you're aware of that. As we look at our layout here, with the layout, it's pretty simple in what it does. We kind of went over this really quick, but we'll do it again. Icon size is the first thing you see, and what this does is gives you the ability to shrink the size of the icons on the screen. Notice the larger the icon, the bigger the toolbar, the bigger the browser window, and things like that. It comes preset at like 24, and that's usually where I just leave it. Some people like it larger, some people don't really, it doesn't really matter to them. Next one, you'll see main toolbox. That's this one right over here. We talked about this before. Right now it's docked to the right. We can dock it at the left. We can dock it at the bottom. We can dock it at the top. I mean, it's kind of wherever you prefer. It comes docked right. In my personal classroom, I docked at the bottom. But remember, I taught elementary, and it made it easy for when the kids came up to use the board if it was docked at the bottom, because the tools were down there and they could reach and change between the pen and the eraser and the pointer and all those things really easy. But that was just my personal preference. You'll get used to where you like it and you'll move it to where you want it. Also with this, you'll notice the next thing over is the colors. Remember, as we talked before, you can choose how many colors you have in your color palette from 8 to 16 to 24 and go through there. So that's just a color palette change. We have the pinned and unpinned. Remember, if it's pinned, it means it stays out all the time, and you see the little gold thumbed pin right there. And if it's unchecked, it does the roll in, roll out feature, where when you hover over it, it should roll out. I think it's not rolling out because I have the settings window open, but that's the two there. Also, you'll see rolled up. It means that it'll roll it up, and rolled down just lets it roll down. And that's that little arrow right there at the top, as you recall. All right, one other thing that we haven't noticed with it, you can also do this roll in, roll out thing, and notice when it pops open, these are all applications that I've had open recently, or tools that it shows. It kind of does a running log of the tools that you've been using, or actions you've been using, and it runs it over on this little menu. It's not always open because it just starts to change, so you'll pretty soon see these ones at the bottom here will drop off as new ones start to appear up here. But that's rolled in, rolled out. It's kind of handy. You can have it out if you're going back to the same tool a lot of times. You can have it that way. If I was using the same tool over and over again, I would probably just place it on my toolbar itself. Next one is for the dual pin user. So if you have that application of a dual pin user, you have pretty much a lot of the same options on the dual pin user as you do on the individual. Browser box, as we talked before, you can move it up and down, left and right. You can make it invisible, visible, things like that. Menu bar at the top, you can change where you have that. Documents tabs at the top, you can change where that goes. So I mean, it gives you all those options. You can also change it from seeing the trash can to not, full screen, like we said before, to non-full screen. So those things right there. And then page extender. That just lets it so you can scroll down to the bottom. And you might like this because sometimes you make a flip chart and you want just that little bit more space at the bottom. You can throw that page extender on it and let you scroll down a little bit and have a little bit more room on the bottom of the flip chart page. So that's kind of what that first layout is. Commands is like we talked about in the tool. when we look at toolbars, it's just pretty much all the tools that's on the toolbar over here are all set right here. This is how we dictate where they're at. This is ones that we can add to it. Notice how these ones, the ones that are colored, mean that they haven't been added. So if I wanted to add that revealer and I wanted it to go down at the bottom here, I'm just going to click on that separator, so when I put it, it'll go in there. And then I just hit move over or add, and there it went. See how my revealer popped in right there? If I want to get rid of it, I just click on it, hit remove, it takes it out, puts it back in the tool. So that's pretty much how the toolbars go with adding tools to it. You can also go between marking handles and things like that with it, but pretty much only the toolbar is all you really worry about. Define user button. This is just dealing with who the user is and things like that. So you can set up your personal preference, and then you can also have another person. So like if you have multiple people teaching in the classroom, they could set up settings for them too. So when they come into your board, it kind of sets the board up to the way they want it. So it bounces back and forth between the teachers. So it works like that. Not one that's really used all that much. And then the last one, of course, is settings, and this is the one that affects all the criteria of the software application, all the way from what type of clock you want to have it set at and what type of time you got it showing, to how input's put in, where we get it from, and things like that. So there's tons of things on here that shows you just different aspects. Is there any of them that I think it's important you need to know about right now? Not necessarily. These are all things that you'll come across later on. But you pretty much, to start with, you want to keep it at the software set applications. Once you start getting into it more and you want to tweak this, or you want to see if that works, or you want to change a little piece of something, or you don't like the way the software is working, come to the settings tab and see if you can't tweak it in that area. So that's pretty much the settings tab and how it works, and the ins and outs of those. So that's settings.